Right. I'm back. Sorry about that. Just a little bit of a technical hitch. So, if anybody wants to drop me some comments, that would be great. Sorry about the little bit of a delay, but I couldn't see any of the comments before. They were coming and going. So, welcome, as I said, to another episode or live stream from Elvis the Ultimate Fan channel. I'll just wait for a few people to come back online. As I say, apologies that I couldn't see all the comments. It just kind of threw me a little bit. Rockstars, hi. Stan, hi. Georgina, right. They're coming through well now. So we can start talking and answering a few questions. Sean, hi, Sean. Hi, Michael. I just really, I wanted to really just kind of discuss with everybody the new Elvis biopic that's recommenced filming in Australia, and they've actually had to change a few of the cast members. Now, as we know, it was going to be Tom Tom Hanks, who's playing Colonel Tom Parker, and then we also obviously we have Austin. I almost said Austin Powers then. What I really should have said was Austin Butler. Um, Now they haven't changed obviously, but we now have, instead of Maggie Gyllenhaal, we actually have Helen Helen Thompson. Now I don't know what people think about this, but Maggie looked a lot more like Gladys. So we'll just have to see. Um, Unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 delay, Maggie's dropped out. Also, there was somebody called Rufus Sewell, who, if I can just, you probably know what he looks like, but I'll show you anyway. There's Rufus. He was to play Vernon Presley, but now we have somebody called Richard 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 Roxburgh from Moulin Rouge. So that he's now going to play Vernon, and I don't know, what does everybody think about that. Somebody says Maggie is a great actress. Yeah, I think Maggie looks more like Gladys than what Helen Thompson does. So unless they do a lot of makeup and so forth, I don't know whether it's gonna work. Um, Somebody says they've got a black screen. Just somebody let me know that you're not seeing just a black screen, because I can see on my feed that these are coming through. So then we also have an addition. Somebody called Dacre Montgomery is going to be playing Steve Binder, obviously who was he did a lot for Elvis with the 1968 comeback special. So good looking fella, as Steve Binder is. So that's probably going to work as well. Then we also have Luke Bracey, Little Fires Everywhere miniseries. He is actually going to be playing Jerry Schilling. So again, good looking fella. He kind of looks like Jerry, I think. And we've got Olivia de Jong, and she is going to be playing Priscilla Presley. Okay, so there's been some changes, in as much as Maggie Gyllenhaal is now dropping out, and we've got Rufus Sewell dropping out as well. Oh, I forgot as well, there's a fellow called David Wenham. He is, I don't know if, I do have a picture of David, yeah. David is going to be playing Hank Snow, and he's from the Lord of the Rings. And again, you know, yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I mean, depending on the makeup and so forth, it could actually be quite good. I'm just a little bit concerned about Maggie Gyllenhaal and Rufus Sewell, the replacements. Hi, Elvis fans. Brazil love Elvis. Is Austin going to play the older Elvis? Well, the way I understand it is that it's going to be from the 20-year or 21-year relationship between Elvis and Colonel Parker. So that would mean, yes, that he is going to play the young, the middle-aged, and the old Elvis, although I wouldn't really call Elvis old in 1977, but I understand what you mean. He is going to. Okay, fixed black screen. That's good, Rockstar. I didn't do anything. It must have been your end. Trump doesn't hold a candle to Elvis. There is only one king of rock and roll. Okay. Hi from the UK. Hi, Andy. Hope we see little Elvis in Tupelo. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to actually include his youth and him growing up in Tupelo and so forth. I think it's probably going to pick up about where Parker comes on the scene, I think. So, and it's only just recommenced shooting in on the Gold Coast, and it's not due for release until November 2021. So we've still got quite a bit of time to wait. Okay. Jake Rowley would have played a good Elvis. Sounds like him. Bruno Mars would have been a good for that. Yeah, maybe. Hi, Bernadette. It's not going to be a demolition job on Elvis, are they? I don't know. I mean, like anything, it's fingers crossed. I'm going to give it a chance. I definitely will go and see it as soon as it comes out, and I'll give you my unbiased opinion on it, because every movie should be given a chance, I think, about Elvis. I just hope they don't twist things to suit themselves, like they normally do, to fit the story. I hope they keep it true. If Jerry Schilling is giving advice, technical advice and so forth, then we'll see. I like to see Leonardo DiCaprio as Sam Phillips. Yeah, I don't know who's playing Sam at the moment. Did he play Sam in some film or something like that? I think he did, didn't he? Actually, we have Elvis Presley actually on the line himself. Actually, hey brother, good to see you. Okay. His message regarding how all people should be treated was second nature to him. So much good change was going on in the movies. Yeah. Sean Clush was the best I've heard. Yeah, a lot of people actually speak quite highly of Sean Clush. So that's the first part I wanted to just get in there, was the changes they've had to make. So Maggie Gyllenhaal is dropping out, and it's now Helen Thompson. Although, as we've just said, she doesn't look like Gladys, and it does help, I think, if a character looks like Gladys. It's like Elvis the movie. To a certain extent, Shelley Winters did look like Gladys. I have reservations about the Kurt Russell movie, but as far as getting the characters to look like, I mean, undoubtedly, Kurt Russell looked like Elvis. Bing Russell, his father, did look like Vernon. And as I just said, Shelley Winters did look like Gladys. So Richard Roxburgh as Vernon, Helen Thompson as Gladys. I'm a little bit disappointed, of course, that Maggie and Rufus dropped out, but then again, it was probably unavoidable. Uh, let's have a look. Yeah, I thought Kurt Russell did a good job. He did do a good job. Yeah. There, I have issues about the screenplay and certain parts of it. Um, yeah, Kurt had his mannerisms and things like that. I think he overdid it a little bit with the movements on stage near the end when he was doing good blue suede shoes and the Wonder Review and things like that. Elvis didn't actually move that fast in 1969, as portrayed by Kurt. I also have issues with him talking to his shadow, and pretending he was talking to Jesse, and also, I mean, when he was shown as well. The young Elvis was shown talking to his reflection in the creek as well, and pretending to be Jesse. Again, it's something I just don't think Elvis did. The people near Elvis, people close to Elvis, said he did talk about his twin now and again, but he didn't dwell on the matter, and he wasn't haunted by the fact that his twin brother died. He just probably wondered what it would have been like if Jesse had lived. But as for talking to his shadow and talking to his reflection, I think it went a little bit too far. A little bit of artistic license wouldn't have gone amiss. They didn't have all the videos like we have now. Well, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I know. With hindsight, we know a lot more now about how Elvis moved on stage and things like that. But yeah, he still did overdo the movements and also he was wearing a suit. I know, again, this is being kind of picky, but he was wearing a suit that Elvis wore in 1972, and it was supposed to be the opening night in Las Vegas. So again, he's always been imitated, however, never replicated. Well, that's true. He'll never be replicated. Who will get the proceeds from this movie? Well, whoever is doing it, is it Warner Brothers? I think it's Warner Brothers. That's who's going to make the money. Yeah, John McRae. Sorry, I beg your pardon. That is the actual suit that Elvis wore in 1972. Vernon lent it to Kurt for those scenes. So yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I hope it's going to be accurate. Well, that's what I keep hoping as well. I hope it's going to be accurate. I really do. So let me just take that off there for a minute, because I think we've seen enough of those for a while. Although you can never actually get enough of Elvis, that's for sure. So those pictures will go off in a sec. It was supposed to be based on Alana Nash's book, which is an excellent, but Baz and another writer took over. Yes, I heard. I heard a rumor that it was supposed to be based on Alana's book, Elvis and the Colonel, which is a very, very good book. You probably know that I actually spoke to Alana on my podcast a couple of weeks back. So if you want to go to the podcast, you can listen to that. Did everybody get to see and listen to my latest podcast, Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel podcast, where I spoke to Zoe Gatto? She's an author, and she's written a book called Elvis Style, From Zoot Suits to Jumpsuits. And basically what it is we covered all the things surrounding Elvis's style, such as obviously his hair, his clothes, his taste in cars, his taste in homes, just his taste in food even as well. So if you want to check that out. And just to let you know that coming up this week, I'm going to be interviewing a man. He's a songwriter, and he also knew Bill Randall. And Bill Randall was the Cleveland disc jockey that introduced Elvis to the world on the very, very first, his debut actually on television, on the Dorsey Brothers stage show. So I'll be speaking to Roger Hall, and I'll be loading that up to my podcast channel and the YouTube channel as well at the end of this week. So that's going to be very, very interesting. So I hope you can check that out. Kurt's version was based on the publicity candy-coated stories more than the truth. Yes, well, it was as somebody else rightly said earlier on, or it could have even have been rock stars that said that. It was all that we had then. We know a lot more now about Elvis and what he was like. We've learned a lot about the stories, you know, the truth behind some of the stories that we didn't really know in 1979. So everybody says they liked the Kurt Russell movie, stopped in the early 70s without dragging all the bad stuff into it. Yeah, it was kind of a good idea just to leave it there. With Elvis coming back to mad, hysterical, enthusiastic, any word you'd want to use. Yeah, it is a Sun Studios glass. Yeah, it is. So yeah, as I was just saying, it was probably the the best place to leave. It was 1969 when Elvis. There was no point in going any further in 1979. It was still fresh. The scab was still fresh. Um, I don't know. I don't know how long the movie is going to be. I hope. I don't know how you get the 21 years of Elvis's career into just a 2-hour movie. I would imagine it'll probably be a bit longer than 2 hours. If it was up to me, I'd I'd do a 4-hour movie and try and cover as much as I could. Um, Sun Records TV show was a disaster. So many inaccuracies. Well, that's what I hate. That's what I hate when people do things about Elvis, is they just get so much stuff wrong, and the casual Joe public that just dip into Elvis, they believe it. They believe it. They take it as gospel. Um, so and people don't check facts either. Only last week I read again that somebody said that Gladys died at the same age as Elvis did, or Elvis died at the same age as Gladys did. And we all know that she didn't. She wasn't 42, she was 46. She was born in 1912 and she died in 1958, which is 46 years. But you still get people insisting that somehow Elvis had some sort of premonition that when he got to 42, he'd die because his mother died at 42, which is absolutely false. And no matter how much you tell people, no matter how many times you try and tell people, they never get it. They never get it. The Searcher is probably the greatest movie about Elvis. It was very good, but again, there was bits in there when it kind of dragged, and there was unnecessary material in there. So it was close. It was close. I know I keep saying this, but This Is Elvis is still to this day one of the best Elvis movies for accuracy and just sticking to the facts. Although again, you've got little bits and pieces, and of course you've got the doubles in there. You haven't got, it's nearly all Elvis, but there's a few stand-ins. But then again, somebody here is saying The Searcher was a disappointment. So I do find it interesting that his mother and him are 2 days apart in death. Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting, yeah. So again, no Elvis after 1973. Elvis seems to have died in 1973, not 77. Yeah, the estate do tend to gloss over 1973 to 1977. Yeah, I agree. Somebody should edit The Searcher and This Is Elvis together. Yes, yeah. Well, that's a good idea. I'm still waiting on the day when they release more of the on tour concerts. There's so much in the can, but of course, again, it's all to do with rights and not being able to do this and do that, and song rights and things like that. What is the best book you think you have read about Elvis? Right. Well, there's the couple of Alana Nash books, the Revelations from the Memphis Mafia, Elvis and the Colonel. I also think Peter Guralnick did a great job on his two volumes. That's Last Train to Memphis, uh, the and what's the second one? Um, Careless Love. It had gone for me for a second there. So Last Train to Memphis and Careless Love. So those two are very, very good. And I can honestly say the worst Elvis book would be Elvis by Albert Goldman. Now, the reason why I'm saying the worst is simply because it was such an attack on Elvis. Um, there was no. Hi, Robert. There was no need for some of the stuff that Albert actually wrote about it. It was vindictive. It was almost like he had a vendetta against Elvis. Um, you know, even Lamar said, and Lamar was part of it. He said that you can't write that about Elvis. That's not right. And I think by the end of the book, Albert had just grew to hate him. For some reason, he just grew to hate Elvis, and there was no need for some of the stuff that he wrote. Yeah, Goldman exposed Parker is right. He did. He because even Lamar was taken aback when it came out that Parker was an illegal immigrant from Holland. But then again, I think there'd always been sort of niggling questions in the back of the mind about him. There's somebody there agreeing. Last Train to Memphis and Careless Love are fantastic books. Yeah, very in depth, very very balanced, very fair. No agenda. It was just down on the paper. I got a signed copy. Is Charlie Hodges' book. Be happy to send it to you if you want. You can if you want. Yeah, no problem. Send me an email. Elvis the Ultimate Fan channel at gmail.com. No bother. John Cotner, 1835. He realized many songs and wrote books. How he did to escape. All right. Well, again, I'm not one of those people that think that John Cotner is Elvis. I'm not one of those people that think that Elvis is still alive. I've said many times on my podcast. I said it many times on my YouTube channel that Elvis Presley died on August the 16th, 1977, as far as I'm concerned. And until anybody can give me hard evidence, and I mean hard evidence, I'm going to stick to that. King 77703. It won't be 4 hours too long. I know that's the problem. There's only so long you can make a movie. Scorsese is into making long movies, Goodfellas and The Irishman and things like that. And you really do need a toilet break halfway through. I mean, I don't know whether if they're going to make a 4-hour film of Elvis, then definitely break it into two-hour segments, because it's very, very hard to sit in the cinema for 4 hours. That's if the cinemas will be open come November next year. Who knows what's going to happen. Billy Smith talks about his death. He left us on the 16th of August 1977. Well, he should know. I'd like to introduce something else I wanted to get everybody's opinion on. I was watching Aloha from Hawaii again last night for about, I don't know, 200th time. Maybe. Does anybody get the impression, as I have many times watching it, Elvis was very, very subdued during the Aloha from Hawaii broadcast. He was undoubtedly nervous. you can tell when he's speaking to everybody, particularly when he's introducing "I'll Remember You," right at the very, very end when he's talking about Blue, doing "I Can't Help Falling in Love" from Blue Hawaii. Just, I mean, yeah, if he thought that a billion people were going to be watching, then he was probably very, very nervous. But does anybody else get the impression that there wasn't, I'm trying to be careful here what I say. He wasn't as focused as, say, That's the Way It Is, Elvis on Tour, when he was in Memphis in 1974 as well, and listening to other, listening to other concerts. He just, that night, during the Aloha from Hawaii broadcast, he just didn't quite seem Elvis, even though it was undoubtedly a great concert. I mean, does anybody else think that? In 1973, his father heart attack also. Actually, Vernon's first heart attack was 1975. Daniel says, I thought he was super focused, a lot of words to remember. 1973, Scylla and Elvis was divorced. He was really struggling with his divorce that time. He was undoubtedly tired of the road, probably by 1973. I don't know. I just wondered whether anybody else had picked up on that. The difference between That's the Way It Is, Elvis on Tour, Madison Square Garden. Okay, we've only got. Now somebody here says severe diet regime. Yeah, he had gone on a super, super, super crash diet. Gary, hiya Gary. Yeah, he thought he thinks that the Aloha was very tame compared to Madison Square Garden. Yeah. Now there was some really, really outstanding parts of Aloha. The American Trilogy is one that stands out. I'll Remember You. He raced through the blue suede shoes and Hound Dog. I think he just put those in because people expected him to sing those. What Now, My Love? Absolutely superb vocal performance. I'm quite fond of Welcome to My World. I thought that was a great performance. He lost 25 to 30 pounds. Somebody said the other week they thought that he'd slackened off on his pharmaceuticals and he was in some ways not used to performing without some sort of medication to help him get through the nerves. And what it was he was just so nervous during the Aloha from Hawaii. And that's probably why when he was addressing the crowd and so forth, he was kind of nearly stumbling over his words and things like that. Gary Barnett, Steve, I'm going public with this for the first time. I'm a second cousin myself to him, and yes, he really, in fact, gone. Well, yeah, that's okay, Gary. You're just confirming what I say. Steamroller Blues, yes, that was another highlight of the concert. And I thought both versions, the rehearsal show and the actual broadcast, Steamroller Blues, was brilliant. The coffin picture is photoshopped. No, it's not. That's your opinion. That's fair enough. It was the first satellite broadcast ever. A lot of pressure for him. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was fantastic. He looked fantastic. He sounded fantastic. As I said, there was a lot of standout performances. It was just when he was actually talking to people, talking to the audience, he just didn't quite seem like he was the Elvis we know. He just seemed very timid. Elvis has been on a really strict diet and he cut down on the meds. Linda Thompson said that following day, yeah, we all know about the following day, yeah, when they were supposed to go to the Pearl Harbor Memorial and they couldn't make it because he was under the weather. Um, there was it's actually mentioned in the Peter Guralnick Careless Love that while they were after the satellite broadcast, they asked Elvis to perform a couple of fill-in, I think it was 4 fill-in songs to insert to when it was going to be broadcast in the US. And as they were taping those, it was obvious that Elvis was getting more and more irritated about how long it was taking. And at one point, I think he makes a comment, yeah, this is just great. This is what you really want, singing songs at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the middle of the morning. And it was kind of quite sort of un-Elvis-like. And somebody actually mentioned it, I can't remember who it was, but they said all he wanted to do was get back up into his hotel room and start taking pills. I think that's a little bit hard on Elvis to say that, but then again, who knows? Why are we singing Happy Birthday to You every year in Graceland? Nobody does that to a dead person. Well, again, it's all part of EPE and their upkeep and to keep the myth going. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think they should sing Happy Birthday Elvis, but then again, I know a lot of fans like that. I think they should just cut the cake and say Happy Birthday Elvis, but they shouldn't sing the song. But then again, that's just my opinion. Yeah, rock stars say to keep the money rolling in. Well, you see, EPE, it takes a lot to keep, the upkeep of the mansion and the property above, over the road and so forth. So they do have to keep the money rolling in, and of course the new guest house as well. Hi Steve, the coffin photo is not the actual photo of Elvis in the coffin. Okay, he did die on the 16th of the 8th. But I don't understand what you mean then. I mean, he died on the 16th, but the photo is not the actual photo of Elvis in the coffin. Mike, you'll have to kind of explain a little bit further what you mean by that, because that was taken by one of his distant relatives. It's either Bobby or Billy Man. I'm not sure. I can't remember whether it's Bobby or Billy. But anyway, he smuggled in a small Minox camera that was supplied to him by the National Enquirer, and he managed to fire off one quick shot. And to me, that looks like Elvis Presley in death in 1977. And many people have actually said, who have filed past the coffin, yes, it was him. No, I don't think it was Gary. It wasn't Gary Man. I think it was either Billy or Bobby, I think. The coffin photo was too dark, so they did their magic on it. Yeah, now I will agree as far as that is concerned. What I do think they did was they did do a little bit of a touch-up on it to enhance it, to bring out his profile against the inside of the coffin. So maybe when the photograph was first developed, you couldn't differentiate the outline Elvis's profile from the white satin lined coffin. So they may have just penciled in his profile, but it's him. It's him. As far as to me, it's not actually open to discussion. Well, it's open to discussion because people have different opinions, and everybody is entitled to their opinion. But to me, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that it is Elvis. Oh, Patrick, right. Now, yeah, somebody was saying that there was a rumor going around that Elvis had cancer. No, I don't think that was that was true. I think it was true that the story was going around, and I've said before that what I think happened was that Vernon put that story around to see who was leaking stories outside of the circle. And it got back to him that people were saying that Elvis had bone cancer, even though he didn't. Um, Ian, no one's disputing Elvis is dead, but that's not Elvis in '77. Well, you see, the thing is I've seen people in death, and they don't look the same as what they did when they were in life. I know what you mean. His face does look a lot thinner in the coffin, in the casket photo. There's a reason for that. It can be a bit gruesome, so I'm not going to really go into the details. Also, when you lay back, your face does tend to tighten up a little bit anyway, which I could probably do with that at the moment. So Bernadette, I thought Elvis was under pressure to get all the songs out. Yeah, you see, he knew he was on a strict time scale. There was only so long they could pay for the satellite signal, and then it would be cut off. It's not like today where you can have a satellite signal for as long as you like, as long as you pay for it. They were, I think they had the hour and 10 minutes. They probably had an extra 10 minutes just in case things went wrong. But yeah, that's probably why he said very little and just did this. Let the singing do the talking. There's another highlight as well I like in Aloha from Hawaii, and that's I'm so lonesome I could cry. He really looked like he was enjoying that. Rockstars says my dad looked 20 years younger in his coffin. Well, there you go. That's another thing, So, and there's the rumor that it was a wax dummy. No. They had to learn 10 new songs. Charlie Hodge lied about the cancer. Well, it did get back to Vernon through Charlie. Yeah, Elvis died in 1977. Let him rest in peace. That's correct. I agree, yeah. You can look thinner, younger in death. Yes. And there was a polypharmacy cover-up with the cancer rumor, in my opinion. What is your opinion about Charlie Hodge's statement on the deathbed that Elvis having a suicide note? Yeah. No, I don't think there was a suicide note. Okay. Were any of the bodyguards worth their salt? I think Sonny West undoubtedly loved Elvis. I think it all got just a little bit crazy near the end. Same with Red. I mean, Red was the autopsy won't be sealed forever. I think the autopsy is only sealed for another 10 years or something. Was it? Did Vernon have it sealed for 50 years, something like that? Volume is on the low side. Okay. I'll see if I can speak up a little bit. What was I saying? Yeah, somebody says unsealed actually in 2027. Oh yeah, Rockstars. Yeah, Red and Sonny loved Elvis. Well, Red was with Elvis from the very, very beginning, like sort of from the early 1950s, in Hume's High. Sonny from 1960-ish. I just think it all got a bit crazy and out of hand, and I have no doubt. I mean, I spoke to Dave Hebler on my podcast channel there a few weeks ago, and we discussed the fact that Elvis had instructed. I'll just see if I can just up this volume a little bit for everybody, and hopefully that'll do a little bit better for you. Vernon was supposed to give the boys, it was either 5,000 or 10,000, and then he would hire them back in a few months when everything had cooled down and they'd learned their lesson or whatever that was supposed to mean. Somebody's asking here, what do you think of Marty Lacker? Becky. Hiya, Becky. Marty Lacker, I had a lot of time for Marty, actually. I thought Marty he didn't sugarcoat things. Somebody else saying there, great interview with Barbara Hearn. Thanks very much. If you haven't heard that, by the way, there's an interview with Barbara Hearn, who dated Elvis in the 1950s. And she was a lovely lady. I have to say, she was a lovely lady. So if you can check that out, it's on my YouTube channel here. So say what you will, but Elvis didn't die on Red and Sonny's watch. Correct. Yeah, they'd gone by then, yeah. There's also, I think Jerry is a great guy. I think he did his best for Elvis. Yeah, that's Jerry Schilling. Yeah, I've tried to get Jerry to come on to my podcast, but so far no luck. No, I didn't have an interview with June. Unfortunately, I think June is not too. She's not too well at the moment either. Marty was kind of biased about the Elvis 69 because he was involved himself, but overall he's a straight shooter. Yeah, well, he was involved. He actually got got the sessions set up. Although George Klein says he got them set up as well, but I happen to think it was probably Marty. Okay. What are your thoughts on Mr. Geller? Larry Geller. I'm trying to get Larry on the show. I've asked him to come on and talk to me about Elvis and so forth. And he did admit, or he did agree to come on, but unfortunately he had to postpone. But I was very, very interested to speak to Larry. Gary says there was no such suicide note. Hi, Steve. His cousin, who was paid to take the photograph, could not get the right shot as he was rushing past the casket. The camera was too small technology, so they did some editing. Right, Mike. Okay, but it was still Elvis in the casket. Billy Smith is still alive. I've asked Billy Smith, Paulie, but again, he hasn't come through. Shelley Faberez, yeah, I must get in touch with Shelley and hopefully she'll come on. I agree. No way would Elvis get back with Priscilla. I agree. I remember seeing an interview, a letter that Vernon wrote to a fan, and the fan had asked, did he want to get back with Priscilla? And Vernon had said he hasn't said no desire to me to get back to Priscilla. As far as he's concerned, it's all done and dusted. And who'd know more than Vernon, his own father? Billy Smith and Marty Lacker are the straight shooters. Yeah, that's right. I mean, Marty's dead now. Marty died a couple of years ago. But yeah, I always think that Billy would be, the truthful as well. Somebody here says met Billy, and he was phenomenal to talk to. I'm sure he would be. Yeah. I don't know whether Elvis was that upset about the divorce. A lot of people around him said he wasn't really that upset. As far as he was concerned, it was over and time to move on. Okay. Somebody else says he always thought he wasn't over Priscilla. Linda Thompson is a beautiful person. Yes, she is. She's very, very, very attractive, even at her age now. Even at the age she is now. His dad was grey at an early age. Yeah, well, Elvis dyed his hair. First of all, he dyed it because he wanted it black for the movies and so forth. But later, he had to dye it because of the grey. Elvis had affairs first behind Priscilla's back. Okay. And Margaret and so forth. But then again, he wasn't married to Priscilla then. He was more upset about Lisa not being at home. Yeah, I would imagine so. Ricky Stanley told me Elvis was coerced into the marriage. Yeah, that could have been, that could be a point. Yeah. He, his, I'll just take those off. By the time 1967 had come round, the relationship probably had run its course. I know he had good intentions in sort of 1962 when he brought Priscilla over, but you know, time had changed him and her, I believe. Somebody here is saying that he cried to Dodger, his grandma, the night before. In the ending shot of Love Me Tender, his hair was black. Probably was, although it was a black and white film. Joyce Bova and Anne Margaret. I actually asked Joyce to come on the show, but she declined. Yeah, a lot of people are saying here he felt obligated to marry her. That's right, because he had made a promise to her mother and father that he would marry her one day. Some people are saying that he didn't. He was scared. He was frightened that Priscilla's father would hold him to it, and saying that she was underage when she was living in Graceland. But again, she was supposed to have been living with Vernon and Dee. So whether that's just made up or not, I don't know. I undoubtedly think that he loved Anne Margaret, yes. Her dad said he'd go to the press. Yeah, that's what I've just been saying, yeah. The colonel told him to honor his image about the marriage. Yeah, again, if he'd broken up with her, it could have turned bad. So he had to marry her. In the end, Elvis felt Scylla cost him more than it was worth after all. And I don't mean money. Yeah, okay. All the people who really knew him are almost gone. There are not many people left. I know, yeah, I'm finding that out, unfortunately. Why are there no interviews with Patsy Gamble? I'll tell you one person I'd love to speak to is Al Strada, but he doesn't actually do interviews. I've heard he doesn't do interviews. He's a Facebook friend, but I don't think I have any chance at all of talking to Al. I did know that, actually, Janine, that he didn't take his pay when he was in the service. He just donated it all to charity. But that's Elvis, yeah. Patsy no longer does interviews. I've asked Steve Binder, and I've had no answer. Al was there when he died. He was, as was Joe, as was Billy. So... Never seen any interview with Patsy. No, it's difficult. It's difficult to get interviews with people, unfortunately. I don't think Priscilla was. Hi, Matt. I don't think Priscilla was pregnant when they got married. I mean, everybody knows it was 9 months to the day. They got married on the 1st of May, and Lisa arrived on the 1st of February. It would be, if she was, it would only be a few days, surely. I mean, I'm not really up on this sort of thing, but I find it difficult to believe that she was pregnant when they got married. Lisa was a honeymoon baby. Okay, Patrick, he says he has a question for me. You can fire away. Anybody else got any questions as well? Yeah. Are you Dutch? No, I'm not. I'm English. Where are you from? I'm from England, originally. Now living in Ireland. I haven't met Charlie Hodge, no. Okay. I noticed the accent. Okay, Matt? No matter who Elvis was with or who he was married, he couldn't stay faithful. Yeah, a lot of people have said that. Jackie Welsh, shout out from Belfast. Hi, Jackie. How's the lockdown? Not too great. I suppose you've heard Dublin is locked down. Did I ever get to see Elvis live? Unfortunately, I didn't. No. No, I didn't. Okay. I think Mary said people are saying why people say Elvis had cancer. It was a rumor put out by Vernon. Um, my favorite song is Today, Tomorrow, and Forever. Yeah, that's a good one. It takes two to have a happy relationship. Yeah, well, you have to. Yeah, I agree. You have to work at it. Yeah. I'd just like to say if anybody missed the start of this, or came in late or have to go before we end this broadcast, you can actually watch it again on playback, on replay on YouTube. Okay, John has a question to ask. Okay. Patrick, I don't really have a favorite Elvis song. There's too many. Every time I think I have a favorite one, another one pops into my head and I think, oh, that's a great one. Maybe that's my favorite. So no favorite Elvis song. It'd be an amazing interview with the people we see in the comeback special 1968, and that's the way it is. Yes. Ryan, are they really buried at Graceland? I firmly believe they are. Yes. Robert, any word about Todd Slaughter interview? Yes, I was speaking to Todd a few weeks ago, and it'll be about another 4 or 5 weeks. He's working on a project, and when that project comes to fruition, I will interview him, and because I want to interview him about that project. Why isn't there a lot of pictures or information on Al Strada? Al was kind of a very, very private person, still is, and he wishes to remain in the background. Have you listened to the letter and how it came about by Wayne Newton? Yeah, I do know about it. It's just one of those things. Elvis never thought the end was near. No, I don't think he knew the end was going to be so close. I think he knew he wasn't well. He knew himself he wasn't well, but I don't think he thought he was going to go so quickly. Thoughts on Dave Hebler? Well, you can listen to my podcast about my interview with Dave. I have no axe to grind with Dave. Patrick Lyons, hi from Dublin. Hi, I'm thinking of Dublin, Patrick, because it can't be easy for you at the moment living in County Dublin or the city of Dublin. I don't think Al wrote a book. Somebody can correct me if he did. Elvis Presley. How many of the Memphis Mafia are still alive? Well, there's a couple of these Stanleys, isn't there? There's Billy, Sam Thompson. Not many more left, unfortunately. Larry Geller, was Larry ever considered part of the Memphis Mafia? If anybody wants to throw in a few names that I've missed, Jerry, of course. Yeah, I forgot Jerry. We'd mentioned Jerry. I don't think Hamburger James is still alive. Rockstar, could you please have Alana back on your podcast? What could I talk about to Alana? Because we actually, I thought we did. I thought we covered everything. Yeah, I like that, Tony. Only by a hair. Yeah. You mean Larry Geller? Yeah. I would say there is maybe three left alive. Yeah, there's probably only three or four left alive because there's Billy Stanley, Rick's gone, hasn't he? There's David, there's Billy Smith, Joe, his wife. Um, so yeah, there's not many now, not many now, unfortunately. The TCB band, yeah, there's the TCB band. They're not really classed, obviously, as the Memphis Mafia, though. But yeah, there's there. Richard Davis, Steve. No, Richard's gone. Richard left. So, is there anybody coming in late that wants me to go through the um, the changes to the movie again? Let's just do that one more time. Um, so, basically, as we know, there's Tom Hanks is going to be Colonel Parker. Then there is obviously um, Austin Butler, and he's going to be obviously Elvis. And then there was going to be Maggie Gyllenhaal was going to be Gladys. Um, but unfortunately, she's had to drop out. So we've now got um, somebody called Helen Thompson. Okay, now she doesn't look anywhere near as much like Gladys as Maggie Gyllenhaal is. Then we've also got Rufus Sewell, and Rufus was going to be Vernon Presley, but unfortunately he's had to drop out because of the COVID delay. And we've got Richard Roxburgh. There's Richard. So again, I think Maggie looked more like Gladys than Helen did, and Rufus looked more like Vernon than Richard does. Then we've got David Wenham is going to be Hank Snow. And then we've got somebody called Dacre Montgomery is going to be Steve Binder, who did a lot for Elvis in the 1968 special. And then we've got Luke Bracey. Now, Luke Bracey is going to be Jerry Schilling. Yeah, Jerry Schilling, that's right. Yeah, that guy there is going to be Jerry Schilling. And then, of course, we've got Olivia de Jong is going to be Priscilla Presley. So that's as far as it's got so far with most of the key players, So who's going to be Sam Phillips? I don't know. I'd be interested to know who's going to be Sam Phillips, because they have to have Sam. They have to have somebody playing Sam. I would imagine a lot of them have been cast. So I don't know who Sam is going to be, or who's going to play Sam. I'm looking forward to it. As I said earlier on, I'm willing to give it. I'm willing to give it a chance. They can do wonders with makeup now, so they should get the actors to look like the portrayals. Yeah, well, this is what I'm expecting. Yeah. I'm familiar with that song. There's a guy works down the chip shop, swears he's Elvis. I can't even say it. I must put these teeth in. Why filming in Australia? Well, Baz Luhrmann is he Australian? I think he is. And also, it's probably cheaper to film out there than maybe in the States. Kirsty MacColl sang, there's a guy works down the chip shop, swears he's Elvis, yes. There's a fella called Alex Radu is playing George Klein, apparently. I saw the CGI of Elvis appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show. It's just like the introduction of him just before he comes on. It's very clever, actually. I wonder what happened to the 3D Elvis that was supposed to be out. They did they did not Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison, but they were supposed to be doing Elvis, and it never the hologram, yeah, it never came out. I don't know what happened. They abandoned it anyway. Yeah, somebody's just confirmed that Baz Luhrmann is an Aussie. Yeah. So we got Tom Diskin, Leon Ford, Xavier Samuel, Scotty Moore. I often wonder how Elvis felt when he heard of the death of people like Buddy Holly and Eddie Cochran. I'm sure he was very sad. He met Buddy Holly, and as far as I know, he met Eddie Cochran as well. The question is, did someone else have a hold over Tom Parker? I can't imagine anybody having a hold over Parker. He was a control freak, so it would be the other way around. He would have hold over other people. And some people say, the question is, did someone else have a hold over Tom Parker? The question is, did Tom Parker have a hold over Elvis? Is Kate Mulvaney, is Marion Keisker, Natasha Bassett is Dixie Locke. So there's an awful lot of people now coming through. They must be almost completely filled all the roles. I'm not really familiar with a lot of those actors and actresses, so I can't really say. You know, Tom Parker was a hustler. He was, yeah. I'm wondering if they will get somebody to play Lisa Marie, or are they only going to sort of there's somebody else coming here through saying Bill Black. Yeah. Adam Dunn, Bill Black. The casinos controlled the Colonel in Vegas. Well, he was, by all accounts, he was up to his neck in debt, and Elvis was his mark. The hologram, yeah, I don't know what happened to the hologram. I don't know why it didn't go ahead, because there was one of Roy Orbison. I saw the Roy Orbison one. I only saw it on YouTube. I didn't see it live, but it looked a little bit out of scale. It looked like he was almost too small on the stage. Elvis told Gerla in April, when he announced to the audience about taking a break to get clean, he was then letting Parker go. Well, it might have been March, actually, when they were in Hawaii. Is there anyone playing Anita Wood? I don't know whether anybody else can answer that. Yeah, they're going to have Anita. They're going to have Anne. And they're definitely going to have Linda, I would imagine. Yeah. No, they're definitely not. They're going to go past the 1968 comeback special. It definitely says the 21-year relationship between Colonel Parker and Elvis. Will they use Elvis vocals singing in the movie? Again, I don't know. That's a very, very good question. If anybody knows the answer to that. You can't take too much of what Larry Geller says as fact. Well, I don't know, because I haven't spoken to him. I'd love to speak to him. Yeah, they're going to have to add more soon, I think, because... but they probably won't... they probably don't want to give the names of everybody yet. Because they like to just sort of trickle them out every so often. What do you think, Johnny Cash album with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra out November? Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing that. I actually like the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra and Elvis. I know it's a very controversial subject. A lot of people say they shouldn't have. they shouldn't have done that to Elvis's recordings. But if it keeps him out there, and it makes him chart, and it turns newer fans on, then great. I'm thinking of going to Graceland next week. Do you think with all the vandalism and everything going on in the world, it is safe to stay at the guest house? Apparently, I don't see any problems with safety. It's just like anywhere else. You just have to be sort of careful, your surroundings and so forth. And I can remember when I visited, I actually went down to the music gates at night, and I didn't see any problem whatsoever. That was in 2002, so that was sort of like, a long time ago. It might have changed now, whether there's anybody there who can sort of tell me any more information about how safe the Graceland area is now. Austin Butler is apparently singing in the movie. Well, that'll be interesting. He's playing the guitar as well. Yeah, that's interesting. Nancy O'Brien Simpson is saying depression fueled his drug dependency. I'm almost certain that he was depressed. I don't think he ever got over his mother's death, and he was never given time to mourn her death. He had to ship out to Germany almost immediately afterwards. So yeah, he could have been depressed. They are doing the tours at Graceland, I believe, but they're on a very, very small. I think they're only allowing 6 people in at once, and I think you have to be from the same family as well, I believe. Elvis was a rhythm guitarist. That's the way it is. Shows that the International Hotel controlled his career. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Joseph is saying that he was at Graceland August the 10th to 16th, and I drove all around the neighbourhood and had no problem. No, I think you just have to be aware of your surroundings and so forth, and just use your common sense. Gladys was his rock. Yeah, he admitted as much. She was the most important person, along with Lisa, of course. Why do I think Elvis didn't write his own songs? Probably because he never got the chance. He was always supplied by the songwriters. Maybe Parker didn't want him to write his own songs. They temporarily suspended being able to go to the gravesite in the mornings. Oh, that's a shame. Rockstar says that he knows somebody that went to Graceland last week and they had a great time. The graffiti was put on the walls was disgusting. I agree it was, yeah. I've always thought that Elvis was a great gospel singer. I agree with you, yes. Okay. Right. So what's the consensus then on this movie? Is everybody looking forward to it? Are some even going to not bother to go and watch it? I must admit now, I saw that when I saw the trailers for the Elvis and Nixon film, it completely turned me off. It'll be interesting to see the trailers and the spoilers for this Baz Luhrmann movie. Of course, it won't be for a while till we see something like that. King says he can't wait for the film. Tom Hanks is never in a bad movie. Yeah, just about. Yeah. Yeah, see, a lot. Hi, Cat Girl Blue. How are you doing? Yes, looking forward to the movie. Okay. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Well, I agree there. I'll watch it, but I'm on the fence. I am. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to reserve judgment. Um, Somebody says they had no interest in Elvis and Nixon. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the trailer made Elvis look like a fool. You know, doing karate and everything like that in the Oval Office. As you know, he wasn't even. He didn't do it. You know. Love Charo and Change a Habit. Yeah, one of two of his last movies. Yeah. The movie will be fabricated. Well, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that they'll fabricate things or twist things around. Yeah, Elvis and Nixon was a cheap production, nothing like the Baz Luhrmann production. Well, this is it. Yeah, there's going to be money behind this one. Um, Release date, Paulie P. Release date is, I think, November 21st, 2021. Change a habit, yeah. Gary O, I will watch the movie, of course. Just hope that the Elvis actor does not overplay the part. Well, this is it. It's very, very difficult not to either overdo it or underdo it. Um, he actually, he does. I'm just going to put his picture up again because he does. You know, he Austin does look like Elvis. Uh, the shape of the face and so forth, and the eyes and the brow. Um, they're not going to have a lot of work to do, um, but it's more his mannerisms and the voice, his talking voice. Um, Somebody said, Paulie P says he has his chin. Yeah, I'm looking at it there. He kind of does. Yeah. Um, his ears are too big. They'll probably be able to do something about that with his ears. Um, you know, if people think they're sort of protruding too much, they can probably push it back with tape or something. But it's the voice and the mannerisms, and somebody says his nose is too thin. Yeah, because Elvis's nose was quite wide. Um, yeah, it's the story as well, how they treat the story and the facts and so forth. That's I'm going to hold out reservation on that. Did I not turn that off? I thought I turned off yeah, I did. I did turn it off because we'd seen enough of Austin. Okay. No one will ever be able to play Elvis like Elvis. Well, that's for sure. That's for sure. Um, yeah, Andy, that's it. If they stick to the facts, great. But Hollywood have, I know it's not Hollywood, but Hollywood biopic movies always tend to add or subtract stuff to try and make it more marketable. It'll be interesting to see how they handle if it is up to 1977. They'll have to handle Elvis's ill health and decline and so forth. I hope they treat it with respect. I hope they treat Elvis with respect. I hope they treat it kindly. I hope they stress that uh, you know he was ill. It wasn't just all drugs. A certain amount of. Do you think the people in the States will go to see the biopic in the theatres? And do you think it will flop at the box office? Well, I have no idea whether it will flop at the box office. It's too far away to say that yet. And as far as people in the States go to see it, well, there's people in America now watching this now, so they can probably answer that. If you're in America, if you're in the United States of America, will you go and see the film? That's what I need to. That's what they're asking there. But as I say, I hope they treat it kindly. I hope they treat the last from 1973 to 77, I hope they treat it with respect. Okay, Texas, they would go to see it. Harrison Vetter, yes. Becky D, yes. I don't think it was a Netflix movie. I don't know. Somebody's saying there that he doesn't look like Elvis. I think he does. I mean, he doesn't look like Elvis per se, but he has the right shape. He has the right kind of brow as well. The chin. With the right lighting and makeup, he could pull it off. Yeah, I've heard about that Netflix cartoon called Agent King. I don't think I'll be watching that, to be honest. Okay, Melvis Brooks. The movie is covering approximately the 21-year period between 1956 and 1977. A great impersonator can have his face change in front of you. Yeah. To me, I think it's going to be a 50-50 split. The focus is going to be on Tom Hanks's character, Tom Parker, and Austin Butler and Elvis. I don't think it's going to be solely about Elvis. It's going to be his relationship with Parker. So, Austin isn't going to be the main character. There's nearly, as far as I can see, it's going to be a 50-50 split. It's going to be, in other words, it's going to be as much about Tom Parker as it's going to be about Elvis Presley. Yeah, we said that earlier on, actually, King. Elvis's depression started when his mother died and it never left him. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So has anybody got any other questions or thoughts on this Elvis biopic that Baz Luhrmann is working on, or what I said about Elvis not actually being focused and switched on the night of the Aloha from Hawaii? Do you think we'll learn more about Parker through the movie? Well, I think everything, well, as far as I know, everything we know about Parker is known. It'll just be an affirmation of what we know. I wonder how they'll approach the fact that he was an illegal alien. That'll be interesting. Will they mention? Yeah, Paul, that's right. The irony of a 50-50 split. Yes. That's quite ironic. I never thought of that. That's very clever. Yeah. Yeah, I hope we see Colonel Tom Parker leaving Holland in the biopic. Yeah, I'd be interested to see where they pick the story up. Will they pick the story up with Colonel Parker seeing Elvis for the first time and trying to get control of his contract from Bob Neal? Yeah, it'll be interesting. It will be interesting. Loanne Parker died recently. She did, yeah. The Colonel's wife. Yeah. Yeah, Darren Greenwood says, talking about the Aloha from Hawaii concert, Elvis didn't seem himself that night. No, I don't think he did. And I'm convinced that he wasn't as focused as maybe he should have been. Although, as I said earlier on, it could have been, I mean, if he thought there was a billion people watching, he was probably nervous. What is your opinion about what killed Elvis? Was it the stress and the drugs? I think it was boredom that made him eat unhealthily. Not probably take as much care of himself that he should have done. He had hereditary health problems as well, and the drugs, the abuse of, or the misuse of the medications, the prescription medications, didn't help. The thing that killed Elvis Presley was a heart attack, something that kills vast amounts of people every year. But what behind it all, I think, was just boredom that killed Elvis Presley. That contributed to the way he lived his life. The 21 years between 1956 and 1977. So yeah, strangely, boredom killed Elvis Presley. Behind it all. Vernon definitely had diabetes. I don't know whether Gladys did. Elvis could have been borderline diabetic as well. Missing his daughter killed him. Well, that certainly didn't help. Biting your tongue suggests a seizure. Yeah, well, I think people have been known to bite their tongue when they have heart attack. I don't know whether Elvis had ADHD. Gladys had hepatitis. She did, yeah. Again, she had hepatitis, but it didn't directly kill her. It led to her death, but she had a heart attack. That was the thing that actually took her away, was the heart attack. But hepatitis was a contribution to it. Contributory element. You know, Ron, that's a very, very interesting question. Did Elvis ever see Graceland as a kid? I often wonder, when they travelled from Tupelo to Memphis in 1948, did they drive past Graceland, and did he just look up and think, wow, that's a great house up there. Someday I'm going to get my mama and dada a house like that. I wonder, did they actually drive past Graceland on their way in that day? Be interesting to know, wouldn't it? So all the evidence shows that Elvis was at high risk of having a heart attack, and he did. Well, heart problems ran in the Presley and Smith family, as far as I know. My interview with Alana Nash was interesting. The most interesting was about Colonel Tom Parker and Holland. Yes, that's right. There's rumours that Parker could have been involved in the murder of a woman. It coincided with the night it happened. It coincided with the night he left Holland for good. Now, that doesn't prove anything, but it could mean that he was hiding something, and that's why he never admitted to being from Holland until he was pushed in court in the 1990s, when the Graceland estate took him to court for mismanagement. We have Elvis's 1971 Harley bike. He lost in the divorce. Took me 2 years to find the bike in California. Now that's interesting. Yeah, thanks for telling us that. Well, didn't the murder happen on accident? Well, that's it. Yeah, he could have. Whoever murdered the woman, it could have been by accident. Yeah, it might not have been premeditated. There just might have been a row, an argument, and things got out of hand. And as I say, I'm not saying for a minute that Tom Parker was involved, but it's just an interesting coincidence, put it that way. She says, I knew that Elvis's mother, Gladys, hated Tom Parker. Yes, she didn't trust him. And Vernon had to kind of talk Gladys round. But it would be interesting to know if Gladys had lived, would Parker have been gone after a while? Would she have talked Elvis round? Classic Cars of Sarasota. Yeah, great job with the videos. Thanks very much. Thank you. I enjoy every minute, as you might guess. Vernon liked Tom Parker because Tom uh, he actually lived up to his promises of, making them rich beyond their wildest dreams. Robert Reed, Steve, do you watch any other YouTube Elvis videos? Yes, I do. I watch a lot of Elvis videos because I enjoy watching them. Who would I like to interview the most? I think there's two people I would very, very much like to interview. And one would be Ginger Alden, and the other one would be Linda Thompson. Ginger I've asked, and unfortunately Ginger turned me down. And Linda hasn't agreed. She won't agree, unfortunately. I was very, very, very happy to get to talk to Barbara Hearn because she was a lovely lady, and she just told me a lot of things about Elvis, which was just lovely to hear. Yeah, Rockstar says that Gladys would have fired Colonel. I think she would have seen him for what he was eventually, yeah. It was okay at the start, but as the 60s wore on, no, it wasn't great. Yeah, the Henner record store. Oh yeah, that takes me back. What was my first record? Or first Elvis purchase was? I can't remember. I'll have to come back to you on that. Where is your Graceland cup? Yeah, I've got my Elvis mug and my Sun Records mug. What is your most interesting thing I've learned from my interviews? One of the interesting things I found the other week when I was talking to Barbara Hearn was we were discussing about Gladys getting sick and so forth, and she said that although a lot of people had said that Gladys liked to drink and drink maybe too much, she was never really she was never sort of witness to seeing Gladys drink or be worse for drink or smelt it on her breath. So I thought that was quite interesting when Barbara said that, because I'm sure Barbara was around quite a lot, and she actually said that she spent a lot of time with Gladys. She spent a lot of time in Gladys's company, even when Elvis was out on the road and so forth and working. And she was never aware of it that much, that she drank, and she drank to excess, smelt it on her breath. So I thought that was very interesting. Elvis had a hard time when his dad was in jail. Yeah, because it was just him and Gladys, and there was no money coming in. I'm sure Gladys had to work all hours God send just to try and keep things afloat. I don't think he would have married Anne Margaret because Anne wouldn't give up the Hollywood lifestyle, and he wanted a wife that wasn't, part of the Hollywood scene. So I don't think he would have married her. It seemed that many of Elvis's girlfriends got very close to Gladys. Yes, yeah. June Juanico, she was quite close. Yeah, she must have been a great lady. She really must have been a great lady. Did it maybe happen after Elvis was drafted? Gladys's drinking. It could have done. Yes, could have done. Yeah. Flora. Big move from a house of 32 years. Okay, nice to see you. I don't know who the first person was that said Gladys was a drinker. Yeah, Anne had her own addiction problems as well later on. The Hebler West book pushed him over the edge, pushed the depression. Well, it probably certainly didn't help to think that there was going to be a book about him. Gladys always drank. Yeah, well, that's what I thought. But then again, if you listen to my interview, Barbara says different. In the Kurt Russell movie, Gladys is having a beer for breakfast. Yeah, again. mm, Hello from San Diego. Hi, San Diego. I believe Gladys would have saved Elvis seeing her son's health go bad as a mom. Yeah, I don't think Elvis would have maybe made some of the choices he made had she been alive. Alcoholics can hide their drinking in magnificent ways. Well, they can, yes, but then again, you'd think that Barbara would have sort of smelt it on her breath. Yeah, she did take diet pills. Yeah, yeah. Depending on, I think, the catalog number, the Moody Blue albums can be quite valuable. Yeah. Hi, Granny M. How you doing? Vernon is responsible for not giving the guys severance pay. That's right. He was supposed to give them 5,000 or 10,000, and he was even said that they would be called back after a while when Elvis had cooled down. Um, the origins of Gladys being a drinker would have come from people within the circle, the inner circle at the time. Um, of course, it didn't help her hepatitis. It probably caused her hepatitis. Um, I have heard the conversation, the Anita Wood phone conversation. Yes, it's quite interesting. She's actually, excuse me, she's actually given him a hard time actually, and he was quite restrained. The gold Moody Blue album is worth a lot. I'm sure it is. Yeah, Moody Blue with the AFL prefix, black vinyl, is worth a lot. Okay, I don't think I'd sell it if I had one. In fact, I think I have an AFL, but I wouldn't sell it. I think the Memphis Mafia added a lot of source to various topics. Yeah, well, they could have done. Although Dave in the interview says that they didn't say half the things. They said good things as well and tried to balance it out, but they only printed the bad stuff. Did Elvis and Priscilla love each other till death? I don't know because I wasn't there. Um, I think personally, after 1973, he'd moved on anyway. Yeah, well, you're saying Melvis. You're saying that Elvis could have, um, recorded stronger material during the latter part of his life, but unfortunately, because Parker was so obsessed with getting at least, a percentage of the recording of the publishing rights, that a lot of by the late 60s and 70s, the songwriters just weren't giving him the songs anymore. They didn't want to give up some of their publishing, so they didn't even bother, giving him the demos. That's one of the reasons why that the songs went downhill in the 60s. And then, of course, when he went to Memphis, the Memphis recording sessions, he says, I don't care about the publishing, just give me the songs. And that's why the songs were so good. Uh, my top 5 LPs. Okay, so I'll mention Moody Blue. I still think it was a good album, even though some people say by then it was just all up. From Elvis in Memphis, I like that one. Um Madison Square Garden, obviously. Aloha from Hawaii. It's a good album. Good album. I like the EP. Um, Kid Galahad. That's a good one. I think Colonel Tom Parker was guilty that Gladys was sad. Maybe, yeah. I think she was more sad that Elvis was going away. I think it all got on top of her. She didn't like the fact that he was away so much. And then to cap it all, she knew that he was going to be shipped to Germany. she was going to be following him to Germany, but I still don't think that she was happy. She couldn't grasp that it was peacetime, and she thought he would be in harm's way. I don't think Elvis fulfilled his true maximum potential, simply because he never did a world tour. Yeah, he did fire Parker, but they made up. Elvis is Back is another good one. Yeah. Okay. Barbara Hearn, no, she didn't like Colonel Parker. Larry Geller, Lamar Fike. I think Lamar was indifferent about Parker, especially after Elvis died. Lynn Thompson didn't like him. Fair enough. 10 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. That's for sure. There's more than 10 million. Yeah. Yes, his dad made him feel guilty by saying to him, "Look what you done when she died." Yeah, I'm not sure whether Vernon would have said something like that, unless it was in, this extreme grief. He might have said something like that. I know Vernon had a go at Elvis when Elvis was in hospital, and then Vernon had a heart attack, and he said something along the lines, "This is all your fault. You worried your mother into an early grave as well," and that was in 1975. So whether it had all come to a head by then, I don't know. Elvis Country is a good album as well. Yeah, there's some good songs on it. The only thing I've always had a problem with is the "I was born about 10,000 years ago" in between each track, and then sort of segued in between each track. I'm not too keen on that idea. I prefer just the full track, the way it was released later. He was sick of Vegas in his later years. He certainly was. In fact, he was beginning to get bored of Vegas by August 1970. I've often said this before. A lot of people say this was when That's the Way It Is was made. A lot of people saying there's no way he could have been bored by then. However, there are stories from the inner circle, some of the Memphis Mafia and some of the musicians and backup singers, to say that he was expressing boredom by then. So if he was getting bored by 1970, by 1975, 76, it must have been horrendous for him to have to do. Yeah. People must realize it must have been very hard to be Elvis Presley. It must have been. Yes, it must have been. In fact, he's down on record when people ask him what it was like to be Elvis Presley. He says it's very uncomfortable, and he also said to somebody once, he was just so fed up of being. He was so tired of being Elvis Presley. But then again, I'm sure there was times when he loved being Elvis Presley as well. I'm reminded of the 1969 press conference after he'd opened, just after opening night, and one of the reporters said to him, "Is there anybody else you'd like to be other than Elvis Presley?" And he laughed and he says, "Are you kidding me? Is there anybody else you'd like to be other than Elvis Presley?" What a question. What a question. What Elvis era is your fave? I haven't really got a favorite era because I like certain parts of all of them. I like certain parts of the 50s, I like certain parts of the 60s, and then certain parts of the 70s. So it's really, I have no favorite era. Billy has said he lived for being Elvis, and when he wasn't noticed, it bothered him. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm sure there was times when he wished he could just sort of like sink away from it all. But after a day or two, he would have missed it anyway. How Do You Think I Feel is awesome. Yeah. Elvis wasn't very proud of the sound and style he had in the 50s until Jerry Lee Lewis, who sounded the same in 1980 as he did in 1956. Yeah, I don't know. I always thought that Elvis was comfortable with his 1950s sound. Do you think he ever hit his peak? Probably not. Like I say, his peak would have been if he could have done a world tour. Sonny liked Parker. Steve Binder told us, not long playing Vegas, he was playing to the band. Yeah, he could have been playing to the band instead of the audience. there was a lot of interaction that went on between him and the band. Yeah, a lot of people saying they don't like Colonel Tom Parker because of what he did to Elvis. Is Elvis the greatest of all time? In my opinion, yes, he was and is. And that's my opinion. Elvis carried a boot in one of his on the stage. Yeah. Okay, right. So, just to recap, do you think he knew how unique he was? No, I don't think he. I think he was always very humble. I don't think he just realized how much he was loved. I think he did. He did have. He did realize that just how people just saw him, and he said that, do you remember what he said in the 1972 press conference when he says, the image is one thing and the human being is another. It's very hard to live up to an image. I think, he realized that people saw him differently to what he was. He really was. First memories of Elvis, I must have been about 4 years old, hearing him on the radio. And my ears pricked up. Bing! Like that. Wow, that's some voice. That's what I remember. Somebody else there says the link between the songs in Elvis Country album is what makes it so great. Yeah. I could have done without those links, but then again... Steve, have you read the book that Ginger Alden wrote? Yes. Yeah, I liked it as well. Yeah, I did like it. Yeah. Yeah, there's somebody said that he thought he'd be forgotten sort of like 3 or 4 years after he died, and he's still going strong. So he got that wrong. I think he did underestimate to a certain extent just how much we loved him. How much he was loved. Okay, so if anybody else has got any questions or comments before we wrap this up. As I said, I do have an up-and-coming podcast. I'm interviewing a songwriter who was also a friend of the Cleveland disc jockey Bill Randall, who was the person that actually introduced Elvis on his debut television appearance on the Dorsey Brothers stage show in January 1956. So that will be very, very interesting. November 2021 is a long way off. Yeah, it is. It's a long time to wait. But we're just going to have to bide our time. It'll come around quicker than you think, though. I always think something's a long way off, and then before you know it, there it is. Ghostman539, thanks for what you do. Well, as long as the people watching my videos, listening to my podcast, as long as the Elvis fans enjoy it, then that's grand. That's great by me, because that's why I do it. And I do it to just keep his name and his legacy going. Thanks for the discussion. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for answering our questions. That's no problem whatsoever. I enjoy it. I'll be doing these obviously, hopefully on a regular basis. As long as people want me to do them, I will keep doing them. I'll look forward to November 2021 when we can all sit down and discuss the biopic. Thanks, King. I appreciate you as well. In fact, I appreciate everybody watching now, actually. I appreciate everybody. And everybody stay safe. And as I say, if you came into this late, you can watch it on replay, and you can leave comments and so forth. That's basically it. So everybody, enjoy your week, and don't forget to tune into my podcast. If you haven't seen all my podcasts, then they're there. They're available on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all the places where Spotify, all the places where you can get podcasts, you can listen to my podcasts. So as I say, thanks very much for tuning in. Have a safe week. I hope we all stay safe and we see each other back here. Maybe next Sunday, if you want, we can do it again next Sunday. If Sunday suits people, then we can do it on Sundays. But we'll play it by ear and see what we think. Good night and stay safe.